Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, my dear students. It's me, Shama Shakil from Peshawar Model Schools. In today's video, I'm going to explain Unit number 9, Electricity of Class 5. So let's begin. Atom. All matter is made up of tiny particles called atom. This is on your page 81. You can also underline it. All matter is made up of tiny particles called atoms. They are invisible to the naked eye. We are not able to see with our naked eye. They are composed of smaller particles called subatomic particles. Even atoms, like I said, it's already a tiny particle, right? It's made up of tiny particles, but they are even composed of even smaller particles called subatomic particles. They are electrons, protons, and neutrons. Electron, protons, and neutrons. The structure of atom is just look like this, right? It's just look like this. Okay, so let's begin with this main topic: electrons, protons, and neutrons. Protons and neutrons are found in the center of an atom and they make up the nucleus. As we know, nucleus always present in the center of any cell. So similarly, like cell, here protons and neutrons are found in the center of an atom, and so they make up the nucleus. As you can see in this picture as well, electrons keep moving around the nucleus. Electrons just keep moving around the nucleus. In the shell, around the nucleus, these are known as shell, right? The subatomic particles are different from each other due to the charges they carry. So we have to understand, we have to know about the charges they carry. Protons carry a positive charge, electrons carry a negative charge, neutrons carry no charge, which means neutral. So usually the number of proton is equal to the number of electrons, right, in an atom. So the charges are balanced. Usually the number of proton is just equal to the number of electrons in an atom. So the charges are balanced. But the atom has no charge and it is said to be neutral. We are talking about charges of the subatomic particles, but the atom has no charge, and that is why we said it is said to be simply neutral, right? Again, I am repeating: protons carry positive charge, electrons carry negative charge, and neutrons carry no charge. And simply the number of protons is equal to the number of electrons, so the charges are balanced. But the atom has no charge, and that is why it is said to be neutral. Electric charges. Now, what are electric charges? You can check this on your page 82. Two objects with positive or different charges, which means one is positive charge and the other one is negative, will attract or pull towards one another. Look at here in this picture, two different charges. One is positive and the other one is negative. Right? They will attract each other or pull towards one another, which means they have higher attraction. Objects with the same charges, either positive and positive or negative and negative, will repel or push away from one another. Look at there in this one picture. Objects with like charges, same charges, either positive or negative, they will repel or push away from one another. The attraction is very less, right? But charges, different charges, one is positive and the other one is negative, so they will attract. The charges are more higher than the like charges as compared to the like charges because they repel each other. You can also see this in this picture. Simply both the charges having both the things having same charges, negative or positive, they just repel each other. And talking about positive and negative, two different charges, They simply attract each other. Electricity. Now, the main thing. After knowing about atom, subatomic particles, which is proton, neutron, and electron, the charges they carry, positive, negative, right? And the relationship between electric charges. Now we are able to know about electricity. Electricity is a type of energy that can build up in one place or flow from one another. It is a type of energy that can build up in one place or flow from one place to another. Flow means carry on, right? They are floating, right? And talking about build up in one place, which means static. So we have to know how many types does electricity has. There are basically two different types of electricity: static electricity and current electricity. You can also simply define electricity just as the flow of electric charges. Electricity is just the flow of electric charges. So we have to study about types of electricity. So let's begin with this. Static electricity. First, you have to understand what is meant by static. Static means something which is stop in one thing, or simply you can say static means fixed, which has no movement, right? Electricity that gathers in one place is also known as static electricity. Electricity that gathers in one place is known as static electricity. They are not moving, they are fixed, right? Example: when you pull off your sweater rub against your hair. Talking about winter, when we all wearing sweaters, what happened when we pull off our sweater? Our sweater rub against our hair, right? Electrons move from your hair to your sweater. As we know, electrons are moving in an atom, right? So electrons move from your hair to your sweater. Now your hair has lost a few electrons as they are moving to the sweater, right? And they are all positively charged. Since hair have like charges, same charges, either positive or negative, they repel each other. As we know, they have positive charge and they repel each other. As a result, your hair becomes fly away. Right? Or another thing, you can simply say the imbalance of positive and negative charges. There is no proper balance, right? So the imbalance of positive and negative charges is also known as static electricity. So another mechanism is just when one object is rubbed against another, electrons are transferred. Like we are talking in this case, electrons move and transfer from here to sweater. Simply so, when this happens, one object ends up having more electrons than protons. One object ends up having more electrons than protons. This object becomes negatively charged. The other object loses electrons and becomes positively charged. Always remember, when an atom loses electrons, it becomes positively charged, and when an atom gain electron, it becomes negatively charged, right? So this imbalance creates an electricity which is known as static electricity, right? Current electricity. Electricity that moves from one place to another is called current electricity. Electricity that moves. In static electricity, we have discussed they are fixed. They gathers in one place. But here in current electricity, electricity that moves from one place to another is called current electricity. Example: in metals, mostly in metals, the electrons are free to move. When such materials are connected to a battery or main sockets, these free electrons become energized. They start moving through the metals. This flow Simply, this is the example of current, electricity, but always remember this flow of electrons or this flow of electricity is known as electric current. This flow is called electric current. So these are the two different types of electricity. Electricity in nature. Now what does it mean, electricity in nature? When clouds rub against each other. Rubbing against, which mean we are talking about static electricity. When clouds rub against each other, electrons move from one cloud to another. As we know, electrons are moving, right? So electrons move from one cloud to another. They heat up the air between the clouds, between the two clouds. If too many electrons move very fast, the air between the clouds gets so hot that it glows. This is a spark. You can see in this picture as well, kind of this. So this is known as spark. If this spark is huge, it is called lightning. If someone is going to ask you that if we are talking about electricity in nature, so what do you say? Lightning is an example of which type of electricity? So you have to say lightning is an example of static current or static electricity. Why? Because you know that the clouds are rubbing against each other. So when we are talking about rubbing, so we are simply meant to static, right? Circuit and fuses. These are very simple. A complete path through which current can flow is called circuit. Simply taking the example of your own home, there are so many circuits and fuses, right? So the complete path through which the whole current can flow is called circuit.